This is the episode I have been waiting this entire show to see. How is it that every episode just gets better than the last one? When it comes to the Penguin, you always think it can't get more dark than whatever happened last week. And then the next week comes and you're going to Arkham Asylum.
My mom said he did bad things.
She's right.
This is the best episode of this show that I've seen so far. I know that I'm kind of spoiling my review here saying that, but I don't care. I'm going to say it and then I'll explain to you why I feel that. But I just want to say, dang, this show is so good. Every week, each episode is better than the last. We'll see how the show plays out. I don't want to call it too soon. This might end up being one of my favorite shows of the year because it's just on another level. And it's DC Comics, it's Batman, and it's on another level. It's HBO, baby. Before I get into it, I should say, spoilers ahead. Big spoilers. I kind of predicted what this episode was going to be. I feel when I watched the last one, I was thinking the next one basically has to answer some questions. I felt like we were getting close to, getting that flashback episode where we're going to learn a little bit more about what happened between Sophia and the Penguin and find out, what happened with Arkham and all of this stuff. And of course, this was a flashback episode where we got all of that. And it was better than I could have ever even imagined. This episode mostly follows Sophia after she has been unceremoniously left by the Penguin and Vic. She's been abandoned. She hurts her head. And as she passes out, she sort of relives her experiences of what led to her going to Arkham and then her time in Arkham. And then we come back to the present day and see what Sophia is going to do as she is now in a very difficult situation where she no longer can go to her family. Obviously, Oz has betrayed her and she now has to decide what to do next. And ultimately, she decides to get a fresh start. In doing that, she also gets some help from her therapist, who we find out in this episode is one of the physicians that was treating her at Arkham Asylum, Julian Rush. That is also very interesting, and I cannot wait to talk about all these relationships because there's so many great relationships just in this show. There's so many good scenes. It's on another level. Like I said, it's on another level. So this is a very Sophia-focused episode, and that was something I really loved about it just because I love the character of Sophia Falcone. I feel like she's such an interesting character. I never know what she's going to do. She feels so unpredictable to me. I can never fully know what's going on in her mind. It's like I have ideas. I can see her thinking, but I feel like she just makes these choices that are so interesting. She's such a complex character, and this episode really illustrates that. It really shows the complexity of her character, where she came from, why she is the way she is now, and gets us a little bit more into her head and into how she thinks. Although even then at the end of the episode, I was like, I don't even know what she's going to do now. I think I have an idea, but is that what's going to happen? And I was close, although the way she went about what she did was a bit different. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. To start though, let's start with the beginning of this episode, because something that I find fascinating, that I cannot wait to see how this plays out in the next episode, is the Penguin at the beginning of this episode sells out Sophia hard to the Maronis. He basically says that he was going to, when they're confronted by them, hand over everything to the Maronis. Now, I'm sure later Oz would claim, I just said that because I was trying to save our lives. I had to say whatever they wanted me to say. But there is an important point that comes out in this confrontation, and that is the secret that Oz did kill Alberto. That secret is then leaked to Sophia, and I don't think that is something that Oz will ever be able to talk his way out of, because Sophia suspected him initially, and her suspicions were correct. And I think all she's learned through most of this episode, and all we've learned about her as a character, is that she has these gut instincts. And in her story, when she has ignored that and she has tried to quiet her impulses, which are coming from a very real place, I think she's really good at reading people, it's only gotten her into trouble. So I'm thinking in the future, she's going to be very connected to that intuitive sense and go with that. This is also a very female focused episode. We're dealing with Sophia, her relationship with her mom, the death of her mother, we're dealing with Arkham Asylum and the women that are held there in Arkham Asylum in the women's district. Is that what you call it? Their side of the penitentiary, basically, or the mental asylum, the hospital, which is really more of a prison. Let's be real. Arkham Asylum is definitely a prison for the criminally insane, and the patients there are treated terribly. No surprise there. I've seen a lot of Arkham Asylum in the comics, and it's never a great place to be. I just personally love Sophia as a character, though. Like I said, she's just so interesting to see, and seeing her downfall here and then seeing her rise back up, it was beyond fascinating. And I really am in love with this character. I can't wait to see more of her. I want to cosplay her. That's how much I like her. You know, I like a character when I'm like, man, I really need to cosplay this character. I either really love the character or I really love the design. Usually that is where my compulsion to cosplay comes from. I want to be the character because I think the character is so cool, so interesting. Also, speaking of the Falcones and Sophia and her dealing with the death of her mother, we also deal a lot with her relationship with her father, as it is revealed in the flashback that Sophia is one of the people that realizes that her father has been strangling people and that he also, took her mother's life, basically, is what we see, where Sophia was led to believe that her mother took her own life and she was depressed. She later starts to piece together the fact that it was probably her dad that did that, because she finds out there are these women that have gone missing at the club, and they all were potentially strangled. They were all claimed to have taken their own lives, and they were hung. But did they do that themselves? Was that self-inflicted? No. It was definitely her dad, which, of course, if you've seen the Batman, you're probably onto this pretty quickly. You're probably following along with Sophia. She's like, okay. And she ends up confronting her dad about this, and it does not go well. Also, with Carmine being back, you may have noticed that there was a recast in this. We actually have Mark Strong as Carmine Falcone here in the flashbacks, as opposed to John Turturro, who actually played him in the Batman. And if you're wondering why that is, I was wondering why, although I think Mark Strong did a really good job. It is because Turturro actually had scheduling conflicts, so apparently I think he's shooting Severance, and Severance had scheduling conflicts. He was just too busy and they couldn't make the schedule work, and so they just recast the role. But Mark Strong does a really good job, and I feel like in a way there's a lot of similarities between Carmine and Sophia that we see here. He's got a sense of unpredictability that I also associate with Sophia, and at one point they have this confrontation scene where he calls her to his office during his birthday party, and they are away from the party, and she is called out for meeting with the press, and she says, no, like, I just dismissed the press, like, I didn't even believe them, they were saying all this stuff, I know you would never do something like that. And he starts to realize that she suspects him, and he calls her out for, like, why, like, how could you say these things, all of this stuff. And then she reveals that she remembers when she was a little girl and she found her mother and her dad rushed in. He had wounds on his hands. Wounds like maybe her mom attacked him and what ensued. Also, the room's a mess. There's all these things she's starting to remember. And there's just this moment where I thought he might even attack his own daughter. He might strangle his own daughter. And he just brushes her cheek, and it's so creepy and it's so scary. Like, the sense of danger and the sense of power that we see with Mark Strong as Carmine Falcone is perfect. It's really, really perfect. I liked it a lot. And it even made me wonder, as I was sort of putting my notes together for this video and thinking about this moment, and thinking about the similarities between the two characters, where I do feel like Sophia really is her father's daughter in kind of a scary way. I wonder if him sending her to Arkham was not just a punishment, but was also kind of a test, like he wanted to harden her, because before he was intending for Sophia to take over the family. That's what he says to her, at least. And I believe that's the case. But the one thing about Sophia is that she gets herself tangled up in this mess, and I really don't think that she's aware of how severe these accusations or even just these thoughts of doubt of her father are to him. And so I wonder if it's also part of the fact that there was a little part of him that just also thought, like, this is a way to make her tough enough, where if we could get past this, she could take over the family. I think mostly they just wanted to make her disappear, though. Mostly that's what's going on. But it made me think, because in a weird way, Sophia was really forged in Arkham. Arkham is this really tough, really scary place. I love the way that it's shown when we go there. It is invasive, it's intrusive, it creates a sense of paranoia. There is a horror in Arkham Asylum, and it's beautifully illustrated in these really intense close-up shots that we get as Sophia's being checked in, and all these awful things are happening to her. She gets prepared to, like, be released into the asylum. It's that combined with the strings that really was like, ooh, this is so creepy. It's horrifying is what it is. And it's dehumanizing. That is beautifully illustrated in this show. You feel like you go to Arkham with Sophia and you get to live these experiences that she's having, where she's unraveling, losing her mind, and ultimately comes through it, though, stronger than she was before. Before we even get to Arkham, she gets this scene as well with Alberto. I'm so glad we still get these Alberto scenes. Like I was saying, Michael Zagan, who plays Alberto in this, is just such a great actor, and getting to see him and Sophia together and getting to see the two have this deep sibling connection where Alberto is like the only one that's on Sophia's side here. Oh, it was just so moving and so, like, heartbreaking to see him telling her, you're a Falcone, you can make it. It's only 6 months. You've got this. You're stronger than you think you are. And Sophia just being terrified the whole time and having this breakdown before she's literally ripped away from her brother and taken off to Arkham. I think that's my favorite scene so far in the entire show, honestly. I think the strongest scenes in this episode as well are the scenes with Sophia and Alberto. I really, really love them. There's another relationship that Sophia develops while she's at Arkham, and that is one with her therapist, Julian Rush, Dr. Rush. Dr. Rush does end up leaving Arkham, we later find out, and he does this because he feels guilt about what happened to Sophia, and I think other things that he's seen at Arkham. And ultimately, he continues to be her therapist after she's released. He works with Alberto to help her get released, we find out. And he clearly has, I mean, I was saying this when we first saw him. I felt like there was this connection between the two of them, and I wasn't sure if it was romantic or if it was one-sided or what. But there's definitely something there that we see Sophia playing with in this episode that I still think is so fascinating. And I hope we get to see more of them together too, because I need to know more about this relationship and what it entails. And does it get romantic? Is it just what it is? Is it creepy? It's kind of creepy. I think it's kind of creepy, but it's also very fascinating. Also, there have been a lot of theories about who people are. And one of the theories that people have apparently is that Julian Rush is actually going to be Hugo Strange, or a version of Hugo Strange, who instead of being obsessed with Batman will be obsessed with Sophia. Clearly, there is some sort of connection there, like I've said. I don't think this is true. I've also heard that Vic could be Victor Zsasz. This is the thing people are talking about. And or Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze or Dr. Freeze, whatever you prefer. He could be either of those characters because his name is Vic, but I also feel like he's just a guy. I think Julian Rush is also just a guy. I think they're their own characters that were created for this universe. I don't think they're going to be anyone in the larger Batman universe in terms of that. And I hope we stay that way, because I actually think we don't need them to be connected. We already have Sophia Falcone. She's from the comics. We already have Oz. He's from the comics. There's a lot of people we have from the comics, okay? We don't need everyone to be a character from the comics. Some people can be their own people. Sophia also ends up coming out of this flashback. She wakes up. Rush has saved her. She called him before she passed out. He saves her, and he says, maybe it is best if you go to Sicily, because she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't have my family. Oz was a traitor. I don't know. I'm supposed to be on a plane to Sicily tomorrow, or I'm going to be killed, going to be disappeared by my Uncle Luca. I don't know what to do. And he says, well, maybe you do need a fresh start. Maybe you, not for your family, but maybe you owe it to yourself. And maybe you should go to Sicily because it would give you freedom from this. And she says, yeah, maybe I do need a fresh start. And of course, Sophia's idea of a fresh start is to get all dressed up, go home to her family, walk in there like everything's normal, and kind of play that she's going to follow through and get on that plane. And ultimately, I don't think she was ever going to get on that plane. Her whole plan, something that I thought was going to happen, I thought she was going to burn the house down, but she actually is really smart. She uses CO2 to poison everyone. She takes Gia, her cousin Carla's daughter, and keeps her safe in the greenhouse where they sleep. They have a little sleepover in the greenhouse together. And then she opens the window in Vidi's room so that he's alive because she needs him. And then everyone else is dead. And single-handedly, she killed them all, which some people might see as being insanely simple. But I would say, here's the thing. All of these people that made accounts about Sophia being crazy on behalf of her father, who clearly wanted her committed because she was so close to finding out the truth about him, they think that she isn't a killer because they know that this is all fake. Everything that they said, they just made it up. Sophia is not a killer. So I don't think they would have ever really felt in danger with her, even though they really should feel in danger because Arkham changed her and she is a killer. And clearly, she kills them all. But I think it makes sense that they wouldn't have worried about that, considering that Sophia, to them, they've never known her to be that way, even with her going away to Arkham. She delivers this great speech as well when she comes back home that I love. Like, I might need to actually buy the script for the Penguin season 1 because that's how much I'm enjoying it right now. I haven't felt inclined to buy a script since Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse, which I also really love. So that is making me really think this might be one of my favorite shows of the year. It's so good. It's just crazy where we leave this episode, and I cannot wait to see what Sophia's next move is in the next episode and to see what Oz gets up to next. But I think it's all going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see how Oz and Vic are doing. I'm worried. I'm worried because I'm kind of rooting for everyone, but I think only one person is going to make it out of this alive. I don't know. I don't know if we can have everyone. And I mean, it's called The Penguin, so it's not looking good for Sophia in that regard. I hope she lives. I just think she's so interesting, and it would be a waste to get rid of her in season 1. But we'll see where it goes, and we'll see what we're building to. I think there's a lot more story to tell, and I hope that we actually get a season 2 because I've been enjoying season 1 that much. I hope there's more story that we have. But if not, I'm enjoying what we're getting. That's what I have to say about this episode. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Did you like this episode? Where would you rank it among the episodes we've had so far? How are you feeling about The Penguin overall as a series? And I will see you down there in the comments. Until then, friends, as always, stay nerdy.